Okay. So hello, everyone, and thank you all for being at our Community Health and Wellness Virtual Fair, Surviving and Thriving My Breast Cancer Journey panel. So over the next hour and a half, we will first introduce you to our panel of survivors, who will then tell their stories. From there, we will go into a discussion with our panelists. We'll wrap up things with a Q&A between the audience and the panelists. Then lastly, we will do the raffle for the $25 gift card. You have to be present to win. So our intentions tonight in providing this discussion panel is to provide information, share stories and options, calm hearts and minds, offer hope and encouragement, and answer your questions. Please share your questions for the Q&A session in the Q&A chat box. If you would like to say hi to any of the panelists or make a statement or comment, please use the general chat box. If we're not able to answer your question during this discussion, you can always follow us on Instagram and Facebook at SD Care Center, because we'll be doing our best to offer answers to any questions we receive through posts that we make on the site during the Community Health and Wellness Virtual Fair. A disclaimer that we have tonight is that the information provided in this discussion is for informational purposes only. What will be shared during this time are the personal opinions and views held by our panelists. During the panel, there may be details shared that some may find graphic or triggering, so just be mindful of that as people tell their stories. If you or someone you know are experiencing any medical issues and they need help now, please seek help from a licensed professional, a service provider, or your local service provider. The number for several healthcare providers that offer low or no cost breast screenings or exams will be in the general chat box. So now we will get started. I would like to present you all to our moderator tonight, Story Nagel. She is the founder of House of Volta, which is a nonprofit that offers peer support for those who are diagnosed with breast cancer under the age of 50. I hope I got that right. So go ahead, Story.
Thank you for that great preface, Danielle. And it's an honor to be here and an honor to be doing this virtually and safely and yet be able to reach out to our community. I would like to introduce each one of our panelists today, and they'll tell you a little bit about their background. First, I would like to ask Britta. Britta, can you tell us a bit about your breast cancer journey?
Yes, thank you, Story. So my name is Britta, and I actually am a stage 4 breast cancer fighter/survivor, and what that means is metastatic. What it means also is that the cancer started in my breast and eventually traveled to a different part of my body. In my case, it was my bones. And so that was back in December of 2015. I went on different treatment plans. We've had plans laid out. And for the last 2 years, I've actually been part of a trial. And so far, things are looking great with it. Because of my own experience, though, I remember hearing a lot of people talking about breast cancer and the fear they had. And to me, that was something that I was determined not to let get to me. I realized I did not want that to be a part of my life. But I knew it was also just natural. So I decided I needed to find a way to enjoy my life and be positive. And one of my close friends actually describes myself as a optimistic, pessimistic person, I guess, meaning I'm absolutely happy about some bad things.
Is that chronically optimistic?
I don't know. She came up with some weird terms for me, and I'm just like, sure, we'll go with that. But one of the things I actually ended up learning along the way was that when it came to myself, I just wanted to have as much hope. I just really wanted to have hope, just hope for what was happening to me at that moment, and then hope down the line. I just was like, don't, I don't want to give up, and I'm not going to give up. I decided I was going to fight every day that I could. So that's what I started doing. I started fighting and saying, you know what, my body's going to get tired, but it doesn't matter. I got to keep going. I'll listen to it. I'll listen to what is being said to myself, but I'm going to keep pushing forward. And because of that, I don't even know this, but I've become an influence on a lot of people, apparently. I had somebody tell me, she's like, oh yeah, Britta's famous now. And I'm just like, I am? Okay. But one of the great things about it was it helped my family members because we've now had the chance to see other members kind of experience the same journey, but in a different form. And so they've been able to really draw off of me and say, I'm going to get through this. If Britta is able to get through it, I can get through that. So that was great to hear from, people, to just hear that, I'm going to keep going because you keep going. And people ask me how I do it, and I say I find joy. I make memories every day. We have the gospel in our life, my family, so that helps too, to have a faith. And the great thing about that is no matter what anyone believes or has in their life, they can always find that hope through something. It doesn't have to be what I found mine through. So because of that, I started making changes. I eventually started volunteering with American Cancer Society. I started getting involved with a lot of nonprofit organizations, trying to just really be a listening ear, a mentor. For myself, I decided to create my own site, Jam Hope, and that actually just came because of my really good friend. And so it's just basically starting out with my breast cancer story. It's giving a chance for people to see how I got through, chance to listen to me, and then I want to make that eventually just go outwards, branch it outwards, say it's not just about breast cancer, it's about other issues, and hopefully that can start making some changes, especially during these times right now where it's difficult for all of us, not just us fighters and survivors, but everyone who's part of the community. It's a very difficult time, and that's why I was very happy when I was reached out to be invited to be on the panel again. It was just to say, let's do this. Let's keep pushing forward, and I'm glad that I get a chance to share my story with you. So I want to say thank you.
There's nobody quite like Britta. I'm sure that your story inspires others in ways that, like, you have no idea how far out the ripples go, and that's so cool to see. Renice, can you tell us a bit about your story?
Sure. I'm Renice Zenon, and I was diagnosed with stage 3B triple negative breast cancer when I was 38 years old. That was on December 2nd, 2009. I started chemotherapy just 2 days after my twin boys turned 3. So you can imagine all of the crazy that was happening in my life already before this diagnosis, before starting chemo and having surgery and radiation and surgery again. So there was a lot going on at that time. Part of what I think spurred me on to keep me in the game, keep me strong throughout, was the influence of my family. I had just a couple months before lost both of my grandmothers. So the end of 2009 was just horrid. But of course, I've got my 2 boys and my wife that need me, that I have to be here for and with, and the rest of my family as well. My extended family and friends were a great source of support for me. I think that it's so crucial to have that familial and friend support, and it hurts my heart when I don't see other people have the same types of support. And I've experienced that directly with some other friends, and as a result tried to offer them what I saw was lacking, because they had legitimate needs. And I can, unfortunately, in one case I have to say had, because when he passed away earlier this year. Story, did you have another particular question for me?
Oh, I was gonna ask you, I know that you're really active in the triple negative community. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you for giving me that nudge. Yes, I started participating in a Facebook group in 2012 after going to my first conference with C4YW, so the Conference for Young Women Affected by Breast Cancer. And at that conference, I met a group of women through a workshop there that we were all participating in. And sort of as an outgrowth of that, I joined the Facebook group that they had, and that became the source of engagement with the community. That was my first real kind of getting in and being able to talk with other survivors, so that we're all in this space where we don't have to explain. We can come and bitch and moan in ways that we can't to our family or friends, because they're wanting us to be positive so that they can be positive. And it's definitely crucial to be able to have that outlet. And I think for a time I didn't think that I needed that. And I went through treatment in 2010, and here it was 2012 before I was really connecting with others. And I found my people, and that led me to YSC, which led me to Story, which led me to Britta, which, the lines just go on and on from there. And it's that beautiful silver lining to the whole, horridness of breast cancer and the impact that it has on our lives. But of course, had it not been for that, I wouldn't know these wonderful people, and I wouldn't have the light that they bring to my life, and I wouldn't be able to shine something to them as well. So I have to see it as that beautiful silver lining.
Can you tell us a little bit about triple negative and the groups that it affect. If you want to do like a quick rundown of, there's different types of breast cancer, but Renice's type in particular is very aggressive and very, a lot of times very specific. If you can tell us a little bit about the community it affects the most.
Right. So triple negative means that the tumor that one has is not receptive to either estrogen, progesterone, or HER2. So in treatment, we don't have any targeted therapies in the same ways once one has finished chemotherapy and radiation. So for instance, we don't take tamoxifen. We don't, oh no, darn, now it slipped my mind what the Herceptin. So we don't, like with HER2 positive people, we don't have something that we can take to help prevent recurrence. Triple negative breast cancer also is very aggressive. There are 6 different subtypes of triple negative breast cancer, and it does affect African American women more statistically. Women who are Jewish also have a higher incidence. It's, can you?
The BRCA.
I don't want to misstate the term.
Yeah, I believe the BRCA is more common. Yeah.
And then there's that as well. Women who are positive for the BRCA mutations. So then we find women who are, who fit multiple categories, who may have also a lobular type of tumor. And we see that, as I mentioned, that it's very aggressive. So you'll see the tumor grow in large bounds and in large amounts in very small time periods.
Yeah.
And also younger women. It does affect younger women as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Renice, for clearing that up for us. Mr. David, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's David Smiley. I found out about my breast cancer in 2015 when I was 57 years old, although in 2013 I actually started noticing some symptoms that I didn't push hard enough to get looked at more closely. I was noticing a little bit of inversion of my nipple area in 2013. My doctor, she didn't think much of it at the time. A couple of years later, I ended up having some tenderness under my left nipple and also a little growth on my left nipple. And at that point, I said, well, this is not going away. Went back in to my doctor. We did ultrasound, and that led to a biopsy to check it out, and ended up finding, first they biopsied my left breast and they found cancer there. And while I was on the table, the technician goes, have they authorized you to have your right breast biopsy? And I said, not to my knowledge. So that was that for that session. Went back to my doctor for the readout of the left breast, and indeed, he says, yeah, you have breast cancer, which is very rare. It's about 2,500 men a year get it. About 400 die from it. So it's pretty rare among men. But when I went back to my surgeon to get the readout, he says, yeah, I noticed that the technician says we should look at your right breast too. And so he feels around there and he says, let's check your lymph nodes under your arms. And so at that point, he checks my lymph nodes under my arms and says, they were a little enlarged. Maybe we should get those biopsied too. So I had to go back in for a second biopsy on my right breast and my lymph nodes, all of which showed positive for breast cancer. And it was, I guess at the time, maybe stage 3, grade 2, or stage 2, grade 3 at the time. And they never, I was always positive about the whole thing. Nobody said, you know, you're going to be passing away anytime soon. So to me, it was just like, okay, let's go, let's fix it. What do we got to do? And I decided on a treatment of chemo initially, and I had that for 6 sessions. Every 3 weeks, I had a session. I had 6 different sessions of chemo. And then after that, I had a double mastectomy, at which time, when they started taking out lymph nodes, they take out the main ones under your arms, and they start searching for additional lymph nodes after that along the way to see if those are infected. So as it turned out, I ended up having 13 lymph nodes removed under my left arm, of which 11 were infected, and 9 lymph nodes taken out under my right arm, of which 7 were infected. So I think that brought me into stage 3,
Yep.
grade 2, and I don't necessarily understand all the stages and grades, or maybe the
Yep.
grades I don't understand as much, but so that I had the surgery. Fortunately for me, I handled the chemo very well. It didn't bother me too badly. The surgery went really, really well. I never even spent a night in the hospital, even with the double mastectomy. I came home with my drip bags, 4 drip bags off my chest. I had to have in for 3 weeks while I drained. Again, it wasn't that uncomfortable. It was just a matter of being home and taking care of myself. And then after that, I had 30 sessions of radiation, Monday through Friday, for 30 consecutive, 30 sessions, Monday through Friday. And again, I fared fairly well during the radiation. As long as you put the aloe lotion on after your treatment, you're going to do pretty well. Didn't really burn, didn't hurt. Did lose a little bit of stamina going through radiation, but again, my life didn't really change a whole lot. Even when I was going through chemo, it was kind of like 1 week down and then 2 weeks back on regular life, working, playing tennis, playing golf, whatever. But then there was that 1 week where you had your chemo that you were kind of not feeling like you wanted to do anything, but the next 2 weeks, you're not 100%, but I felt pretty good. So overall, and again, I know it's different for everybody. Everybody handles all this stuff different. The bodies handles things different. But for me, everything went fairly well. And after that, I was on tamoxifen for 4.5 years before my PET scan, which I was having on a fairly regular basis, identified some nodules in my lungs, about 5 different nodules, which they were too small to biopsy, but they assumed that they were leftover breast cancer. And it was a ductal carcinoma breast cancer that I had. So that brought me into the metastatic breast cancer stage 4 because it traveled to my lungs. And got off the tamoxifen at that point. They put me on a couple other drugs, Ibrance and anastrozole, to take care of the lungs. And that was, I guess, last July or so when that happened. And I've been on that since. Everything's gone fairly well. The nodules have been decreasing. I have a PET scan every 3 months. They check things out. Interestingly enough, my last PET scan I had in July, or the previous one, I just had one, but the previous one I just had in July, they identified a hot spot in my tonsil. And so doctor says, you have any
Never
problems?
heard of it on your tonsils before.
Well, it's not I'm finished yet. So the doctor says, you have any problem swallowing? I said, no. Any problem breathing? No. Eating? No. He says, well, you got this little hot spot on your right tonsil. Let's go get it checked out. So I went into an ENT guy, and he says, open your mouth and go, ah. He looks at me, oh yeah, you got some cancer in there. We'll take care of it. It was like he's seen it before. It's no big deal. He says, yeah, we treat it with some chemo and radiation. We'll take your tonsil out, and that'll be that. Okay, well, whatever. I went through surgery. Should have had my tonsils taken out when I was a little kid. Didn't. So, all right, we'll take it out. So, September 1st, I had my right tonsil taken out, and that went fairly well. I was down for a couple of weeks, eating a lot of liquids and stuff. Lost a lot of weight, but fortunately, because we had caught it early, and it was a squamous cell cancer, it had nothing to do with my breast cancer. Absolutely nothing. A different type of cancer showed up in my tonsil. Went through that and didn't have to go through chemo or radiation, which is very fortunate because of the radiation that I had in my breast. They actually radiated all up in here as well. And they really don't like radiating in the same area twice. So fortunately, with the tonsillectomy, they got everything. I didn't have to go through chemo. I didn't have to go through radiation. And all's well at this point. And I just had another PET scan. My lung nodules are decreasing. They're shrinking. So apparently the medicine is working. But during all this time, I've been very, very healthy, very active, working, golf, tennis. My life really hasn't changed a whole lot, other than I'm very proactive in making male breast cancer awareness a thing. And certainly I am more attentive to my body. Any little ache, pain, scratch, nodule, whatever, I get it checked out. In fact, while I was going through, I have blood clots run through my family. And while I was going through my first chemo back in 2015, I did develop a blood clot in my left leg, which they treated, and I was on Eliquis, been on Eliquis, and then when I went off, I had to go off my Eliquis for my surgery for my tonsil, because they don't like you to be on blood thinners when you have surgery. So did that for a couple of weeks before the surgery, and then I had the surgery, and while I'm in recovery from my surgery, I'm kind of sitting down a lot, relaxing, not drinking a lot of water like I should. I developed another blood clot, not only in my leg, but I started noticing some pain in my lung area, my chest area, not my heart, but my chest. And it was getting close to the weekend, and I called my doctor. I said, you know what? I think there might be something going on here. I don't want to go into the weekend and have this thing continue. Can we get a scan done? So the next day he was able to get me into a CAT scan. And sure enough, I had a pulmonary embolism in both lungs, in addition to my blood clot in my leg. Okay.
That's a lot of stuff.
What do we got to do? I said, now I get myself 2 shots of Lovenox a day, and I feel like a pincushion. But again, it's okay. No big deal. Move on. So I guess I've had a few different types of cancers. I've had the basal cell skin cancer, which a lot of people have through normal course of life, and then the breast cancer, and now the tonsil cancer. And interestingly enough, when I was going through my chemo for my breast cancer, my little sister ended up having breast cancer, and she had a lumpectomy. She didn't have to have a full mastectomy, but she had a lumpectomy.
And did they do genetic testing for you?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. They did do genetic testing, and interesting to find out that one of the first questions they ask is, are you of Ashkenazi Jewish descent?
Yeah.
Well, yes, my parents or my grandparents emigrated from Europe, and they were 99% Eastern European Ashkenazi Jewish descent. So there may be some sort of tie-in between that. My grandmother on my mother's side had the same sort of breast cancer. I guess it runs in the family along with blood clots, lucky us. But I think the key was finding it early enough, getting treated, and going through it with a positive outlook. And I'm one of the lucky ones. Very fortunate.
That's awesome, David. Thank you. Terry, can you share your story with us, please?
Yes, happy to be here. Hello, everyone. I was unfortunately or fortunately one of the 8 women who is diagnosed with breast cancer. I say fortunately because of the medicine we have today, things went really well. But it did not run in my family, so it was quite a shock. I have large breasts anyway, so I always do self-breast exams. And I've had cysts in the past, so I felt a nodule and didn't really think anything of it. But I had my annual mammograms. But this time it was a little different because, like David, I had noticed a few changes and kind of put it off for a couple of months. So when I did get the diagnosis, it was quite a shock. And the fortunate part was that where I was living at the time in Georgia, where I went, they were very proactive in helping each and every person with everything that needed to be done. So I didn't have to worry about making my own appointments. I couldn't think anyway because I was in such shock. So they really walked me through everything. I also was diagnosed with stage 2 ductal carcinoma. As Renee said, there are different types. I had the estrogen and progesterone negative, but I had HER2 positive. So I did go on chemotherapy for 6 treatments every 3 weeks, and then radiation of 33 treatments. And then I continued with Herceptin for a year after that. And the diagnosis was in June of 2016. So it was a long trip. And I think what was important is that, like Britta, although I was scared to death, I had a positive attitude. I was doing a lot of exercise at the time, doing a lot of yoga. So my yoga instructor helped me with a lot of breathing exercises. So I think that every time I went to the hospital to get my treatments, I worked on my breathing so I wouldn't be anxious when I walked in. And throughout my infusions, I had a port. I didn't want it in my veins, and I didn't want to have to do it every single time. So I had a port. I had also a lumpectomy, not a mastectomy. So I was fortunate in that count. And it was underneath my breast, so I don't have any major scar that can be seen. I have the little scar with the port and where the tube went into your neck. But everyone was nice, and they asked me what kind of music I wanted to listen to while they did the port surgery and while they did the biopsy, because you're just in twilight. So all of the treatments were all done by the same people every time I went. So the good thing is that they walk you through all of that, and you're seeing the same faces each time. So it makes you even less anxious. Now, it's not something that I can say I would like to go through again, but because I had a positive experience and I kept my mind positive, I also was working. And like David said, the first few days after the chemo was not fun, but I went back to work. So 1 week of not fun and 2 weeks of back to work and feeling pretty good. I continued everything that I was doing before, and actually increased my exercise. And, you know, I learned that you have to do a lot of your own research to find things that make you feel better, whether it's physically or emotionally. You reach out to people. And as I said, it was not anything that had ever happened to any of my other family members, and we're a lot of women in my family. So I don't know how I got lucky, but that was me. Fortunately, I'm 4.5 years out and everything's going well. But if it were to happen again, I know that, you know, it's something you can get through. And with the help of everybody that has been there or is going through it, and people like Story that know a lot about it, you know, you get through it. It's not, but it's also something, like David said, it never leaves your mind. So every little pain, every little twitch, you think, oh gosh, not again. So, but
Yeah.
you remember your oncologist and only a phone call away.
Yeah. It sounds like you did a really good job. I'm seeing in my mind you standing in the middle and all like one of those dust devils, like but keeping calm and staying mindful while you're going to treatment, because we all know that panic doesn't get anybody anywhere. But walking through it like with purpose and not just letting it happen to you.
It's overwhelming. It's definitely overwhelming, especially at the beginning, especially the first day.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so we have questions for our panel. So we're going to go back up to the top with Britta. Can you talk to me about the importance of attitude when it comes to your breast cancer diagnosis?
Oh my goodness. Yes, definitely. It's so interesting. Just quickly to let you guys know, when I found out, I wasn't lucky, I guess you could say, like everyone else who, they felt it, they could tell. I didn't get that luxury. I did self-checks, but it was like nothing. And it was just like, okay. I was a pincushion, David. I literally felt like somebody was sticking needles. And that's how I actually found out, because it just didn't feel right. And everything happened so fast for me. I literally went in on Wednesday, started treatment on the following Monday, and that was it. So whereas I've known people who have had that ability to kind of start gathering their thoughts, go through that emotional process of what I do, oh my goodness, how do I stay positive?
Yeah, do you have like a routine that you go through?
I couldn't. I literally didn't. It was like life stopped right for me right there. And then like my work, it was just like, wait a second, you mean I can't go to work now? I just told them I was coming in tomorrow. And you're telling me now I can't tell them and say I can't come for 6 months? What? No. So it was like, it literally stopped my entire society, my social life. I couldn't sing. I couldn't really go out and do stuff anymore. It was just, to me, it was kind of, oh my goodness, I'm a prisoner in my own home. What in the world am I going to do?
So where's all this positivity come from? How'd you get it with that though?
You know what? I think what I did for myself is I dug deep down. I said, wait a second. Just because I can't do these things that are part of my everyday life doesn't mean that I can't find new things to do or I can't modify them. I knew I couldn't go to work because of treatment. Treatment was saying, no, that's first 6 months, they don't want you there. And so I took that time to search in myself, and I actually started saying, you know what, I may not even go back to this job when I get the okay. I might find something else I want to do. I still continued singing. I still continued finding music I liked, and I would listen to them, or I would kind of just start doing my own little mixes here and there, and that was a great thing to do. My friend got me more involved again in the gaming society again, and that was fun. Because
sounds like you like low-key talking to us about like being in quarantine.
Right, you would think so.
I'm seeing like all these parallels between what you're saying and
it really
like,
is.
Yeah.
It really is. But it was funny. I think the thing that got me to really have this positive is what Bernice was saying, having that support system. When I went in, my oncologist literally said, metastatic, stage 4, the most advanced breast cancer you could have, and I've got a plan, because it's no longer a deadly disease. With all the technology, with all this modern medicine, there's something that we're going to do for you. And she, a lot of people have said they don't like the phrase, but she used the phrase terminal illness. She said, and she's like, the reason why she liked that was because when you get sick, you try something. And if that doesn't work, you try something new. And she said, that's how it is. What we're going to do for your cancer is we're going to try something. And if it doesn't work, we're going to try something new. And if it doesn't work again, we'll keep going until we run out of options or your body just says you can't do that anymore. And then we'll sit down and talk. So that was the first thing that got me through it. It changed my attitude completely, because I said, all right, if I look at it as an illness and we're going to get through it.
Like a chronic illness instead of like a terminal illness.
Exactly. Then it's going to work. And then I had the best support system with my friends, coming around and just surprising me. I mean, I'd have secret sisters drop things off, and I'd be like, who the heck did this? Who has time for this first?
That's fun.
But it did make it fun. And then, like Renee said, I was able to expand my circle of friends because I got involved in groups. But the major influence for this attitude that you see is my family.
That's
My
awesome.
family I come from a family of 3 sisters, 1 brother, and I have a total of about 13 nieces and nephews. I had to think about that. 1 great nephew and 3 great nieces. So we have a big family, as you can tell. And that really helped me because I realized if I didn't want to fight for myself, then I at least needed to fight for them. I needed to go on for them because I didn't want them coming over and seeing me scared or frail or pale.
Because then they get scared. Yeah.
Exactly, because then they get scared. Exactly. And you're just like, that's not how I want you. You're supposed
Right.
to cheer me up, make me happy.
Right. That's super cool.
Yeah, so that really did the big thing. Was my family was the #1 thing that really made me realize I needed to have that cheerful attitude, and it's difficult. And that's one of the things I tell people is, it's okay to have that fear. It's okay to have those negative thoughts, but you have to remember there's hope at the end, and that's what's going to keep you going, and that's what's going to help change that attitude.
Thank you, Britta. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Renice, can you talk to me about why it's important to advocate for yourself?
Oh, yes. Well, similar to what David said, I took some time before I had my tumor checked out. So I mentioned that I have twin boys. I was nursing them at the time. So I thought I just had a plugged duct. So I did what you do. I had my stronger sucker on that side that became his breast. And like, okay, Braxton, you're going to work through this with me, And it, I just kind of watched it, and then
leave it up to him to fix it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I didn't have a fever. It wasn't hot, it wasn't red, so it wasn't mastitis. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just a plug duct. So we're working it, right? And then I stopped. I had a work trip, and my boys were about 2.5. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a good place for us to wean. And after that, I'm just still kind of watching it, and I can see it or feel it get tender at certain points in the month. And then we're, still just kind of watching it. And my wife is my researcher. That's her thing. So she's checking everything out, and she's not too worried either. I don't have, or at least we didn't really think about there being much of a connection, but it turned out a lot of on my mom's dad's side, he and his brothers and sisters have had lots of cancer, come to find out. Although my genetic tests were negative. But, so I had her to kind of check things out for me, or running right alongside me. And finally, I hugged someone, and it hurt. And here it was about 10 months after I first noticed the lump. So I finally got it checked out. And the doctor that I was referred to out of primary care was really dismissive. While my wife and I were in the consultation, we've come with a list of questions, and at some point he's talking to the nurse. Okay, well, she's going to have a mastectomy, and then we're going to do. I'm like, hello, patient over here. Can we have the conversation? Like, how are you just talking to her?
Yeah.
So that was a big red flag. And so thankfully, we have a friend who went through a cancer treatment of his own, and also his grandmother. And when I first got diagnosed, his wife was the first person I talked to. Like, after I got the call, then she called me just out of the blue, like, hey, we need to get our dogs together, or you've got to, can you guys dog sit Cody, because their dog was half of our dog. And she said, you need to see Eric's doctor. And I said, they've got it. Well, they're giving us somebody already, but okay, I'll hold on to her for second opinion. Well, I took that, went to see her, and she said, I could operate on you, take that cancer out, sure, but chemo is going to save your life. So she got on the phone, she called an oncologist a couple floors down. He saw me on his lunch and was like, okay, let's run all of these tests again, and I want to get you started as soon as possible. And so having had that experience helped me to know that if something doesn't feel right, you need to make a different choice. You have the power to say, no, you may think that we're going to go this way, but that's not comfortable for me, or I don't think that you are the right one to handle my case.
Yeah.
I definitely have talked with other women who, in groups, for instance, who have said, I've gotten this information and this doesn't really set right. And there's a ton of women saying, honey, go get a second opinion.
Yeah.
You need to feel comfortable. This is your body. That doctor isn't running anything when it comes to your body.
Yeah.
So if you aren't hearing, getting the level of concern or having any of your interests met by your physician, they work for you. You don't have to do what they say.
Right.
Find someone else.
And you have the right to get what feels right to you, not be forced into something that doesn't feel right to you.
That's right. That's right. Either you have to be your own best advocate, or you've got to have someone doing it for you.
Yeah.
And in sort of like, as Britta was saying, with having those supports around, Terry was saying this, that there was someone to help do all of the scheduling for you and help give you that navigation. Having a navigator like that can also be a wonderful resource and be that advocate for you. So having a patient advocate or a nurse navigator can be a wonderful addition to one's treatment. And it was wonderful when all doctors' offices or oncology offices or hospitals, whatever, make that offer to patients. And I think I've seen more of that happening in the last 10 years since my own experience.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bernice. David, can you talk to us about what it was like to go from what it sounds like as you had a stage 3, because stage 3 is once it goes into your lymph node. So to go from a stage 3 diagnosis to a metastatic diagnosis, and were there lifestyle changes? Were there mental changes? Can you tell us kind of what that was like?
Sure, and it all goes back to when I first got diagnosed. It wasn't, oh, woe was me and my life's over. It was, okay, doc, let's go. What do we got to do to fix it? It was just that simple for me. I've always been a confident person. I just was never worried about it. So it was, okay, tell me what the plan. What do we do? So when I got the notification that I had possible breast cancer in the lungs, it was really no different. It was, okay, well, I've been breast cancer free in my breast areas for 4.5 years, and that's still breast cancer free. But now I've got this area in my lungs. Okay, what's the plan? What do we do? What do you want me to do? And it was just a matter of, okay, well, we're going to try treating you with these drugs. But as far as lifestyle changes or attitude changes or anything, it was really just another day in the life of David Smiley. It was okay. Well, I guess we'll take these pills, and what are the side effects? Well, you know, you're gonna have a low white blood cell count, so you might feel a little tired. Okay, all right, I can deal with that. And it is my white blood cell count. I get my blood drawn every month now, and it was even more often before that. But my white blood cell count is very low. My red blood cell count is low. My hemoglobin count is low. I do get shots once a month to boost my white blood cell count, but it does affect my stamina a little bit, you know. So if I'm just walking along, you know, a mile or 2 miles on a flat surface, there's no problem. I climb 2 flights of stairs, my heartbeat goes from 80 to 110, right? But once I'm back on a flat surface, it calms down again. So
Yeah.
that kind of stressor for me is makes me tired fast if I'm climbing. But I can go out and play 3 sets of tennis, or, you know, 18 holes of golf, and not really feel any effect of it. So
you've kind of learned your limitations, and and that's not like across the board fatigue, but certain things are more fatiguing than others.
right.
And you just make like a mental note, like, well, stairs aren't my friend.
Right. And, you know,
I'll take the elevator.
right. And then the other thing I've learned is I can't really get up too quickly if I'm laying down.
Yeah.
I don't want to just jump out of bed or jump off the couch from laying down and get up and start walking, because I've gotten lightheaded.
Yeah.
From that. And I assume it's maybe from my low blood cell counts. But so now when I, you know, get up out of bed, I'll sit on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds before I actually stand up and go somewhere, whatever I'm doing. So I mean, there are a couple of small changes that I need to be aware of, but overall, it's I've always considered myself fortunate, and I've always said that I really have no reason to complain about my situation at all. No reason to complain about my chemo, my radiation, my breast cancer, because no matter how bad I've had it, there is always someone who's had it worse, whether it's children with cancer, whether it was elderly people. I was going through my chemo once every 3 weeks. There's people getting chemo 2 or 3 times a week in the cancer setting while I was going. So to me, you know, the discomfort for a week, whatever the case was, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as what so many people have had to go through. I'm part of a men's cancer support group, and there's guys in the group with all kinds of cancer. And to me, my cancer is probably the easiest one. Listen to all their stories, whether it was throat cancer or brain cancer or prostate cancer or rectal cancer or esophageal cancer, whatever these guys have had to go through was so much worse than what I ever had to go through. So I just feel blessed. I feel fortunate. And I'm never going to poo-poo cancer or breast cancer, and because everybody goes through it differently. But you just have to have a positive attitude, like we talked about earlier. You know, you'll get through it. Believe you'll get through it. It helps you, helps your attitude, your mental well-being. It helps your family's well-being. You know, I have a daughter, didn't want her to worry. I had a wife, didn't want her to worry. And really, it wasn't a fake thing that I was trying to say, well, I'm not worried. I really wasn't, because I was under treatment. Everything was going according to the plan. And, you know, that's the way I think helped me get through it very easily, maybe more so than maybe some others. But yes, I think everybody should try, if you can, like Terry was mentioning, have that positive attitude, have that confidence, believe in your doctors.
Yeah, if you didn't have it before, diagnosis is a great time to find it, to dig deep and find it, because your life is valuable, and you do deserve it, and to take that attitude up from somewhere, so that because it'll carry you much farther than you would ever imagine.
And one other thing I just wanted to mention, that, you know,
sure.
I know it's different for women, okay? It's totally different for women. I've got a double mastectomy. I didn't have any surgery to replace the breasts or the nipples or anything. I just have two lines going across my chest. But it's something that I'm not ashamed of. It's almost like a badge of courage. You know, I'll go to the beach, I'll go to the pool, I'll go to the sauna, whatever. I have my shirt off. And some people will look at me and just like something's weird or different about that guy. And then they'll finally notice it, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll ask me about my story and I'll tell them about it. But it's,
Yeah.
for me, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud to have gone through it and survived it. And it's, whether you don't replace your breast or you do, you're on this side of the dirt, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and your body is beautiful no matter what it looks like, and it's definitely, the scars are a badge of courage and a conversation starter. So thank you so much for that, David. Terry, we were talking about bringing somebody with you. Can you talk to us about like the buddy system?
Yes, I think it's very important. Some of us are very lucky to have a huge amount of people around them that are available. Some of us don't have that luxury. I unfortunately lived in another state. My family was in Texas. I lived in Georgia. So I had my neighbors and I had my coworkers and a few friends other than that. So I think from the very beginning, if you can find someone that can go with you to all of your appointments, take notes, copious notes, because you're not going to hear a thing. You're going to hear it, but you're not going to absorb it.
You're not going to take it, yeah.
That's right. And you're so nervous, it's so overwhelming that it's important that somebody else gets the details. From the very beginning, what kind of cancer you have, what stage, what the treatment's going to be. Sorry, my dog's about to start barking.
Okay, mine was earlier.
All right. What the treatment plan is going to be, and then from that point on, just make sure that if that same person can't go with you, that somebody else goes, and keep your own notebook so that they can continue with the notes in that same book.
Yeah.
And not have everything separate. And then once you start treatment, I think it's really important, especially the first day, that somebody's there that will hold your hand, help you not be so nervous, because it's a long day. For me, it was an 8-hour day for the very first time. And then every 3 weeks thereafter, I had sometimes the same person, sometimes not. Excuse me, 1 second. Sorry, there was a cat outside. And make sure that especially for chemo, because you're having infusions and you may feel okay, and you may get lightheaded, you might need a piece of toast, and they can go to the cafeteria and get you something. The radiation part, it was not so important, because it's an in and out thing. You're not there very long, but it's an everyday thing. So if somebody can drive you or go with you, it's fine. I used to go after work and then go home. But I think the most important thing is to have those people be your support system, whoever they may be, and help you by guiding you with what your doctors are telling you, and making sure that not only are you making your appointments and going, you're where you need to be, but also helping you also do some more research. What kind of natural solutions can you find that will make you feel better? Sometimes I don't tell you all the little details, like, oh, after 2 weeks, your hair is going to start falling out and you're going to feel like crap.
Or you're going to swell to the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah. And then do you want to shave it, or do you want to put shaving cream on it? Do you want to leave it like that?
Yeah.
There's so many little details that really you find out along the way that helps to have somebody there. Also, taking a lot of steroids causes a lot of things in your body to happen, especially when you're older. And it's not things you expect. So, make sure you ask a lot of questions, and make sure those questions, when they're answered, are noted in your book. And I think
there's a lot of intimate stuff that happens that they don't talk about, and it's kind of weird to talk about it with your male doctor. So
yes, well, I was fortunate to have a female, but but I think it was Renee said, if you don't like one of your providers,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to request a change, because the most important thing is to trust who you're with.
Yeah, it's your life.
Even if it's the nurse
Yeah.
that's checking your blood pressure, because if they don't treat you the way you feel you need to be treated, because you're anxious, you're nervous, you're scared. Yes, you have a positive attitude, David, but sometimes it's a little more than that. I was positive, but you were also afraid. I was also afraid. I didn't know what to expect. So
Yeah.
I think just, having confidence in yourself to make the right decision, and allowing those people that are close to you to help strengthen you.
Yeah, it's
So,
kind of like the raising a child takes a village, and it's very much like
yes.
Having a cancer diagnosis kind of takes a village to keep.
And I know that it's important that, you call your friends and your family and you let them know what's going on. And sometimes they call you at the worst times when you don't feel like talking. And they get offended because you don't feel well and you don't have anything to say. But I think it's important to continue to reach out, because those people are the ones that are going to continue to be there afterwards.
Yeah, even if you have someone to relay messages for you, because sometimes just talking about it and relaying the same story over can be taxing too. Those are great tips. Danielle, did we have any questions?
Sorry. No, we do not have any questions right now. So I just want to take this time to let the attendees know, if you have any questions for the panelists, please just put them in the Q&A chat box. But it doesn't seem like we have anything. So Story, if you have any other questions or any final thoughts from the panelists.
Let's see. I do know that each type of breast cancer diagnosis comes with like a different set of treatments. Me, myself, they didn't tell me what kind I had, because they may have, or I had the amnesia that Terry was talking about. But each different type of diagnosis has a different set of like drugs that they give you for treatment. So each one has a different set of like side effects, and each person has a different kind of side effects. So if you were to ask each one of us the side effects, it would be different for each one of us, depending on the type that we had and our own bodies. Number one, all females lose hair, but besides that, like, everything could be different. So it's kind of like depends on your type of treatment. That's why we were talking to Renice about like the specific type that she has and the treatment that's involved, because each type has like a different type of treatment that's involved, and so there's different side effects. So there's no way to say like how long you'd have off work, or what kind of side effects that you would have, or what kind of surgery you would have. It's all kind of like a very a la carte type thing, where each person has a different experience, because each person's body is different, diagnosis is different, and so on and so forth. So each one of us has a different experience, because our bodies and the type and the progression and so on and so forth. So it's very, very, very different across the board. But if you ever have any kind of curiosity about it and you want to talk to someone about it, or if you think that it's in your family, just go ahead and reach out and talk to your doctor about it, because it's better to be proactive, no matter what age you are, than to fall by the wayside and it overcome you. Would be my advice.
Speaking of hair, yeah, I think we probably have all lost it if we've gone through chemo.
Did you lose all your hair too?
I did lose all my hair, and I must say that I don't know if everybody else has had the same thing happen to them, but it came back better in more places than it used to be, softer, and it was actually a good thing. I like my hair better now than it was before, but I did not like especially in the winter time, it did get cold. I wore a hat a lot just to kind of keep my head warm. That was, I don't want to say it was the worst thing about all the treatment, but I didn't necessarily like being bald, but like I said, I'm no worse for the wear.
Yeah, you very much have sympathy for anybody with that's bald, because you get so, like, the slightest breeze and you're like, where did that come from? Am I in the Arctic? Like, yeah, it's you realize why humans have hair when you don't have any.
Well,
Yeah,
and like
'cause
you
then
said,
you get to
everyone.
find.
Yeah. Well, like you said, though, everyone goes through their own side effects. Everyone goes through their own treatment. I know, a lot of people ask me, did you have to do a mastectomy? Did you have to do radiation? Like, what was your plan? And literally, the only thing I did was chemo. I didn't do anything else. And I had wondered about that later down the road. Well, why didn't they offer? And I actually went to my oncologist later on. And I said, I know someone who has it now. They're doing the double mastectomy, the reconstruction.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about that at the beginning. And her answer was simple as, because it had already spread to another part of your body,
Right.
she just didn't think it was worth the risk, because
Right.
it can reform quickly. It can go to a new place right away. She just
Yeah.
said, if you did it, it'd be more just for yourself to feel better.
Yeah.
And I it that makes you think then, like, okay, am I happy with how I look? And eventually I was just like, you know what? I like my short hair. It's not hot. I love the short hair. I can do whatever I want with it now. I like the way my
Yeah.
body is now. I can
Yeah.
do it. So the side effects that we went through, the treatment plans that we went through, it was for each our own personal good, I think, because it's what we needed. But like you said, everyone's going to go through their own. So it's important that you ask what plan is recommended for
And
yourself.
do I have to do this? Like,
And yeah, do I have to?
yeah, because it's
If the
a
answer is
lot of,
no,
yeah,
one less thing.
One
yeah,
other side effect of the chemo, and I don't know if you all experienced the same thing, is that I had leg cramps from time to time. Especially like at night when I was sleeping, I'd get these leg cramps, and I couldn't even sleep. I mean, I have to get up, I have to walk around. In my cancer group, our leader of our men's cancer group is actually a woman who has had breast cancer, and
Did you say the leader of your men's cancer group is a woman?
Is a woman. Yeah,
I
Linda
thought
from
I
Rosemont.
misheard things. I just
No,
wanted to
no.
No,
Best women
it's
ever.
great. And so at
I'm
the
still
meeting, I
trying to,
said, does anybody else get leg cramps? And all these hands went up from all these.
Yeah.
David, I'm still trying to sneak into that group somehow. I don't know
Oh,
yet how, but I keep
it's
telling
great.
her.
It's great. It's great. But so I brought it up, and yeah, a lot of people raise their hands. Yeah, I get leg cramps. And our leader, Linda, says,
Yeah.
well, I've had it too, and I got just the treatment for you. So if anybody is going to go through chemo, there is a lotion called Magnesium, and it's just a
Oh,
lotion,
okay.
and you put it on your leg cramp, and it's almost instantaneously goes away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is.
It also works. That magnesium cream works for pain too. So, and I've used the magnesium. I think it was like a gel, but it does work for pain also.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's because it's like a muscle relaxer.
Yeah. So if you are going to plan on going through chemo, you might want to pick up a bottle. It's available on Amazon. I think it's called Magnesium. It's kind of a green lotion. Have it ready, because if you have some leg cramps, it'll save your sleep.
I do pickle juice.
Yeah, I've been drinking pickle juice a lot lately. Yeah, it's who knew?
Yeah. You drink that other than it just tastes good? What?
Yeah, it's
A couple of swigs and the cramps stop.
yeah. My daughter was drinking it because she has PCOS, and so was yeah. Disclaimer goes across the bottom of the screen, but something about like the brine And the probiotics that are in it are supposed to be really great too. Plus, like if you don't like pickles, I don't know if we can be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, pickle juice is great.
And a lot of people lose weight going through chemo. Try and eat. You know, I lost a little bit of weight, but I actually ended up probably maintaining my weight especially during the good weeks. Eating well. You know, the week during chemo, you feel okay for the first couple of days because they have anti-nausea medicine in you, but then you start to feel crappy for about 4 days. You may not want to eat, but try and maintain your good health and nutrition while you feel like eating, because it'll help.
Yeah.
So we do have some comments in the chat box. If you haven't read them already, I just wanted to share them before we wrap up here. We have from Celeste, to everyone, awesome and special thanks to each panelist. Learned a lot, and their resiliency is extremely a blessing. Hearing about cancer in males was truly an eye-opener for me. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. Excellent panelists and discussion. Years ago, I believe she had a lump and had a biopsy, which was devastating just knowing there was a possibility of cancer diagnosis. However, biopsy was negative. We have from Alita, hi Alita, that she is honored that Terry called her to let her know when she was diagnosed. She learned so much every time she was going through treatment, and her hair is beautiful, which it is.
Yeah, big time jealous on Terry's hair.
Right. I've just been looking at it. Like, it's really beautiful.
I'm so ready to be silver. I just love it.
Oh, I've already got some.
Well,
I've got a
yeah,
lot
I've got
already.
some, but
I got a
don't have
lot
that-
in this
that
hair,
whole shine.
and it looks good against the black. I will not deny that, because I think of Storm from X-Men.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yes.
That's the way to do it. Is you're like, yeah, or Rogue, one or the other.
Yeah.
I'm a superhero.
Yeah, whoever.
Does anyone have any last advice or last words for the audience, for the people who are going to be watching this on YouTube, before we get into the panel, into the raffle, and let everyone go?
Just know that we're, you may not know some of us personally, or you may, but as a community, that's what we're here for, is to just be there to help you get through this. As I said, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have all those negative emotions that are natural, but just remember, you have hope at the end. Once again, if you ever want to follow with me or listen to my story or just kind of see how I get through it, you can always visit my website. And I would be very happy to share what I go through, or even just let you talk with me. I love conversing. I think that's my story, and I get along because we could talk.
And there is a number of women's breast cancer support groups. I know Grossmont Hospital has one. I'm sure the Susan Komen organization could give you some information on where to maybe find support groups in your area.
American
If you're
Cancer
a male
Society.
like myself with breast cancer, there is a male breast cancer organization called the Male Breast Cancer Coalition.org. And they actually found me because when I first got my cancer, I was doing promos for the hospital about bringing awareness to male breast cancer. And we did TV spots and YouTube, this, that, and the other. And somehow this group out of New Jersey found me, and they called me up, and they said, we understand you have male breast cancer. We have a website. Would you like to tell your story? Blah, blah, blah. So when you go to the website, again, malebreastcancercoalition.org, you have a photo of a person and their story about, how they found it, how their treatment went, this, that, and the other. And of course, some people passed and things like that. But there are men's support, even though we're rare. There are men's support groups, and make sure that it's rare, but men need to be aware of it too, whether it's your brother, your husband, somebody. If you notice something unusual or irregular on their breasts, have it checked out. It's typically the same symptoms of breast cancer that you'll find for a woman: tenderness, lumps, inverted nipples, and those sort of things. So it happens to everybody.
And if you go to a support group and you don't like it, or it's the problem I had was it was and this is no diss to older folks, but it was not my age group, and it just did not jive with me. Seek out another support group and keep trying to find one that fits with you. If you're not like a people person and you just want to do one-on-one, I've mentored many people and would be happy to mentor one-on-one if you would like to. House of Volta's on Facebook, and share lots of scientific information. And any one of us, I'm sure, would be happy to talk to anyone.
That's why we're here.
Britta, can you say your website again?
Yes. So my website is Jam Hope, and it's that logo right above me, if you can see it. Yep, pointed up. JAMM Hope, and it's just one word.
Okay, so jamhope.com.
Yeah. So and the reason why is because of what it stands for. Joy in making memories with hope, because that's the end goal, is that in the end you can have that hope. And it's the same thing. I'm like Story. I am willing to do mentoring 101. I volunteer with American Cancer Society and their Reach to Recovery program also, so you can always reach out to me that way too. And my website, I have a Facebook page also, so there's many ways to get through to me. But yeah, we love it.
Okay. All right. So if that's it, if no one else has any final words or final thoughts. Okay. Well, then I will do the raffle. Got my and the raffle winner is Sabrina L. So Sabrina, I see that you're on tonight, and you registered through our registration link. So we will be emailing you from the CARE Resource Fair at SFA to see where you would like us to send your gift card. So look out for that. I want to thank our panelists again, Terry, David, Britta, and Ranice, for sharing your story with us tonight and for getting out some important information about lessons learned, things you went through. And a special thanks to our moderator, Story, for keeping the conversation going. And thank you to everyone who made it tonight, and also everyone who is going to be watching this on YouTube after that. So yeah, everyone have a great night, and thank you all again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.